You are listening to Claret and Blue, an Aston Villa podcast brought to you by Birmingham Live. Hello, welcome back to the Claret and Blue podcast. My name is Dan Rowenson. I'm joined this afternoon by Matt Kendrick. Matt, how are you?
I'm alright, yeah. Looking very bored, aren't I? Yeah, I'm alright.
Good start. Yeah, I'm heading that way myself. We're here today to do another Beyond the podcast where we look back at a podcast that we've done and go through the behind the scenes and a little bit of colour around the edges of what it was like and our plans moving forward. Today's episode is centred around the Claret and Blue Live event that we did. Yeah, really enjoyable event. Loads of money raised for charity. 2 good podcast episodes, we hope, out of it as well. We just want to kind of relive it and go through how it came about, what we learned from it, what we enjoyed from doing it. Will we do it again? Did you enjoy it? Was it good? Did you like it? Did you hate it?
Yeah, before getting to that, I just wanted to mention you kind of stringing out these podcasts into getting 2 for the price of 1.
It's a World Cup break, mate. We've got nothing else to talk about. So if we can get 2 or 3 podcasts from one thing, let's do it.
Yes, so in terms of the live event, I was more stressed about it than I thought I was going to be, to be honest. I know you've done them before with your previous podcast hats on. I usually just think I'm speaking to you. I don't realise that these hundreds and thousands of people. I wouldn't say hanging on our every word, but probably groaning at our every word. So it was just a different vibe, really, because even when you flash up all the comments and you let us know and get people involved, kind of in terms of the interaction normally, it's not the same as them actually being in the room. So it was nice for people to just nice to make small talk at the bar and people genuinely supporting us and wanting to be there.
It kind of accentuates when you look back at YouTube views as well and you think, 10,000 people watch this episode, 40,000 people watch this one, 25,000 people watch this one. And you think, oh, that's a nice number. Anyway, let's move on to the next one. There was 125, 135 people, I think, at the live event, roughly. 100, well, yeah, definitely over 100. I don't know what the final figure was in the end. And you look out of the room then and you think, wow, 100 people looks a lot. So if you think 40,000 people have watched the podcast online of you,
we're not doing it in Villa Park, mate. I don't think we're not going to do it.
Well, yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's a great shout. Imagine how many people that would look like. We've wanted to do one of these for ages. I've searched my emails since doing it for Claret and Blue Live because that's what the kind of working title was always going to be. And we'd had meetings in like January 21, summer of 2021, I think even the back end of 2021, and it always gets to a stage of, okay, well, it's out of my hands now. It's in the hands of a legal department or a marketing department or whatever it might be, and it just kind of all falls down. And the World Cup break was this kind of perfect opportunity of, well, there's nothing happening for 6 weeks, so that's a good time to aim for. I'll have a kind of hands-on approach to it and try and organise as much of it as I can myself, and let's try and finally get one off the ground, because it shouldn't be that difficult to organise. And we'll talk about doing another one at the end of this. Just being able to put an event on and people actually care enough to turn up. It's all well and good us doing the event and saying, yes, let's finally nail it down, and then 10 people showing up. So the fact that we could actually get it all sorted at the Aston, which is a nice venue for it, a good size for it, a place that we've filmed at before, and obviously not with a live studio audience, but to put all that together and people actually turn up and it be seemingly a success. A lot of people watch it online and enjoyed it. Everybody there on the night, despite a few technical problems, which we'll talk about in a sec, they seem to enjoy it as well. So it's a nice kind of sense of accomplishment for me, I guess, and this podcast is a little bit of a kind of a pat on the back between ourselves to say, I think we did a good job there.
I've said this before, I don't like complimenting you too much, but and I'm going to use one of my analogies to compliment you, Dan. So this is a double bonus for you. But it's a bit like you're a bit like kind of either Santa Claus or Mrs. Kendrick, because on Christmas Day I'll turn up and I'll watch the kids open the presents that are from Santa or from Mum and Dad or whatever, and I'll have no idea what they are or how they got there. But I'll jump on some of I'll try and take some of the credit and stuff like that. Yeah. And it's a bit like that I don't think I really appreciated until I got there. And you've got to sort out all the microphones, get all your kit across there. You've got all these raffle prizes, these raffle tickets, these making sure that the speaker system and all these kind of things. And it just kind of happens. And me, Ash and John just kind of turned up. I know John helped you carry some of it on the train, so he probably deserves a bit more credit than me. Yeah, so I suppose it's a rare thank you from me. But the fact that it did go pretty much without too many hitches, and we did have a live event and we did raise 500 quid, probably giving away half of the talking points here, but we did raise more than 500 quid for charity. It's brilliant. It's brilliant that some good come out of all this crap.
You can do as many microphone tests as you want, but you get there on the night and the speaker system starts playing up and you're like, well, Don't know what to do about that now. I think me and John got there at like 4 o'clock or something, and doors were opening at 6:30. You and Ash were getting there 5:30. So me and John thought, oh well, we've got a good hour there to set everything up, and everything will be fine. Everything will work perfectly because we've tested this stuff. It'll be fine. There'll be nothing to worry about. And then we plugged the sound system into the speakers, and you turn the volume up very slightly, and it just goes woo, like a big feedback noise throughout the whole room, and every little twitch of the microphone woo, goes up, and you just think, oh my god, how are we going to do this without any speakers? And yes, it's a small room and it's only 125 people, but if you're sat at the back, it's going to be difficult to hear without speakers. And that was the one thing that didn't quite work on the night. I said before, like, I'm not really bothered about the show elements of it in terms of being nervous. Like, we'd prepared not a script, but I'd prepared questions, and I knew where we were going and what kind of timings we were trying to stick to. It's all the production side of it that kind of winds me up a little bit, and I'll get a little bit nervous over. So I can do as many tests as I want, but if you're 5 minutes away from starting and people at the back go, we can't hear you, you kind of go, oh, now what?
Just old school, won't you? Speak a little bit louder and get the people at the back to move forward a couple of rows.
So we split it into 2 episodes. Obviously on the night, we obviously did it all in one go. There was a lot of people asking online, like, where's part 2? Like, when is that? Is that another day? Like, when is it happening? It's like, no, we've only split it online. We did a mid-season debrief or mid-season review, starting back to the start of the season and losing Steven Gerrard and appointing Emery. We said before we wanted to keep that pretty tight because we knew we had a Q&A coming up. Q&A is probably always the showpiece of the night, I guess, the highlight of the night, because we can do a mid-season debrief between the 4 of us over the internet. We can just chat about the season so far, having that audience interaction with the 100 or so people that have turned up. That's what the night was for me, I think, and that was my favourite bit, I think.
We normally do it on we do it across the internet or whatever, and you flash up the comments, and there's some comments, and there's these people who like really dig you out and slag you off, and things like, boring, nobody's interested in, or what you're doing, all this kind of stuff. I'm just imagine if we'd have got heckled like that during the during the actual event. I like the experience of all 4 of us being together.
That doesn't happen very often, does it?
That doesn't happen in that many combinations, does it? We do the once a season kind of pre-season preview piece. But so I like to think that with the 4 of us, people get a little bit of everything, don't they? I thought John spoke really kind of eloquently, and you can see how switched on he is, how he thinks about the philosophies and tactics and things like that. And then you've got Ash, who can bring a little bit of the insight in terms of what it's like actually going to Villa Park and Bodymore, and looking behind the scenes and speaking to managers and that kind of thing, and the press conference experience. Me, I've got a few miles on the clock, haven't I? So I've got a few stories from back in the day, which I'm more than happy to share, and I've got some opinions about how the industry's changed in terms of football journalism. And I thought again, it's a second compliment, but I thought, considering all that you've got going on, trying to hold everything together from a technical side of things, came across as a very kind of competent and natural host as well, which I've never seen that in you before.
Again, it's a different vibe, because with doing it like this, I could have a list of notes on the side, I can open a new tab, I can Google something while we're on air, I can kind of check things, I can be driven by the comments to say, I know what I've just said is wrong actually, because so-and-so here says this, and that. Whereas on the night, it was very much not like I said before, not a script, but me and John beforehand me and John had done a lot of the organisation, to be honest, but I said to him beforehand that we don't need to have like a planning meeting between all of us to say, I'm going to ask you this, I'm going to ask you that, and I'm going to ask Ash this. I'm going to be very rigid. I'll come to you here, I'll come to you there. We had a bit of a debrief before we started, saying, I'll intro you first, or I'll intro John first, or whatever, just so we all knew the initial moments, what's going to happen, and from there I'll lead it and take it wherever. But me and John, I said beforehand, like, if I'm going to plan it with anyone, I'll plan it with John, because he's the least experienced out of all of us. So if there's anyone who's going to be a little bit nervous on the night, I imagine it'll be John, because he's the youngest and he's never done anything like that before. He's never even met some of our colleagues before, never mind sat in front of 100 people and had to sit there and be talking eloquently about Aston Villa. And nice to get a compliment saying I look like a competent host, but that's just because of a bit of a prep beforehand, and I think we were ready and kind of prepared for that first half. The second half was my favourite, because I didn't have as much to do, so I can just go, right, questions, who wants to talk? Yeah, you over there, and most of the questions were to you three, so I enjoyed that, so I could watch that as a kind of audience member as well. Yeah,
the audience participation was good, to be honest. I don't know whether you and John, during your planning meetings, had got a plan B in case nobody asked anything whatsoever. Probably the type of things that we discuss a lot, don't we, when we take the podcast in different directions, but I'm not sure we'd have asked each other those questions, like those two examples. So it's different. It's useful having, I don't know, another 100 people as a sounding board, really, to guide the conversation. And the thing that I was pleased about was, we kicked off what time, 7ish, 7:15, and it was still going. I know we had a mini break.
Kept going later and later. The next is like, we're still not sorted. We're still not ready. Yeah,
but we managed to, either we'd got a very, very well behaved crowd, or we managed to keep their attention. Considering we're worried about the sound issues, it could have been, if we'd have been really boring, they could have chatted amongst themselves at the back, couldn't they? But everybody seemed to be engaged.
To really simplify it down, come to John for something serious, you for something silly, and Ash for a bit of both. It's kind of how, if I've got a question that might be a little bit silly, I know that you and Ash are probably the people to go to. Not to kind of downplay that John hasn't got a sense of humour, because he certainly has. But also, if I've got a tactical question, John and Ash are probably more suited than you as well. Not to downplay that you're an idiot, because you're not, but just that's a rough kind of guide as well. Was where I take things.
Yeah, don't get those mixed up, for God's sake. I can't.
Yeah, exactly.
This sounds really bad because it makes me sound like the complete git that I am, but I liked it. This is pathetic. I liked it when
I know what
when
you're
Ash
here,
was kind of opening up on what a privilege it was to cover Villa. And laying it on thick about how it is a challenge at times, but it was an honour to do it, and he loves doing it. And I think I told him to put himself together or something.
To be here now, very emotional. Yeah, you get me going in a minute.
Pull yourself together. Sorry.
I can't have things be too serious for too long. Because it unnerves me a little bit, so I need to inject a bit of stupidity into it, really. So that I
like the digging out the Man United fan on the front row. Again, just another stupid moment. I think you were chatting to somebody at the bar and discovered that somebody had brought along a friend who was a United fan, and in passing in the second half of the podcast, you mentioned about speaking at the bar, and somebody mentioned they got a Man United fan, and the bloke who you spoke to was on the front row, and he's like, "Yeah, it's him."
Chatting to Stuart at the bar, and I think you said you got a friend who's a Man United fan, and is it your man here? So we've outed him. Boo, boo. We'll see you in the third round.
Yeah, I do like a bit of the pantomime element to it, and we'll probably touch on it in a moment as well. But I thought the raffle was good as well. Well, do you want to explain about the raffle ticket situation?
Yeah, the raffle was almost a disaster at one stage. I will thank, in a very listicle format here, Luke Roper, Rob Bishop, Tony Daley, Art of Football, HR Designs, Art of Villa, Football Manager, Aston Brewing Company, and Sporting Icons for donating loads of prizes. I think there was something like 20 winners in the end. A couple of people won twice. But I bought a raffle ticket book of 500 tickets and thought, oh, well, that's way too many. Like, I won't use all of them. And my mum did the raffle, which is a big help, because it's something that I've not got to think about, and she can sit in the corner and get a telephone voice on and act professional and sit there and go, yes, let's sell some raffle tickets. And we said before, to keep it simple, instead of pulling off like one ticket, just do like a strip is one entry. So technically it was only 100 tickets, because it was 5 for 1. 20 minutes before we start, my dad shouts me, my mum wants you. Go all the way to the front. Now we've run out of raffle tickets. And I'm thinking, bloody hell, we've sold 500. Like, we must have raised like $2,000. That's unbelievable. And then kind of the cogs in my head were, and go, oh no, it's not 500 tickets, is it? It's 100 lots of 5. So sending out 100 in about 20 minutes is brilliant, and much quicker than I thought it would. But we're suddenly then going, but there's another 50 people that want to buy raffle tickets, and we've got none left. So I'm going back to the bar. Have you got any paper? Yeah. Have you got a pen? Oh, hang on a sec. Go and find me a marker pen. Now, my mum is physically writing down numbers twice and stripping them up and ripping them up and all this kind of thing. Next time, buy 2 raffle books. Just forget that problem, eliminate it straight away. And all those prizes donated to us as well, which we'd really do appreciate. I'll put all the links for the people that sent us. Tony Daley donated a book, so you can go and buy Tony Daley's book down below. Rob Bishop's book, HR Design, sent us after 1 print, which is like this one behind me here. He sent me 8, which is unbelievable generosity. So we gave away all of those. I've gave away a few on Twitter since as well.
Ash winning the camera. winning the Cameron Archer one.
And it was signed by Cameron as well. I think he must have taken it to Bodymore, sent it off to Bodymore when he got it signed. And again, we left that as like one of the bigger prizes because it's a nice print, nice to have it signed as well.
281 to 285.
The other thing was the Tara Mings print that went really well as well. That was donated to us by Acorns because it was donated to them, and they've kind of dished it out to a few places to try and raffle it off. But it's always had a reserve of a certain price to go for, and it's never quite hit the reserve. Bills are tight. It's almost Christmas, energy crisis, etc., etc. And I'm going, oh, please give me some of your money. Like it feels uncomfortable to me. But that went for 150. Got a bit of a bidding war between a couple of people at the bar. That went to a young guy who had a picture with it, which again I'll put in here as well, and that was signed by Tyrone as well. I think I've got it down as 530 quid, and it's not a total 50-50 split because the Mings print goes directly to Acorns because it's their prize to give. 250 quid to Aston Villa Foundation and 300 quid to Acorns, or however it works out. So they'll really benefit from that, and we thank you for everyone getting involved. We have got a donation link online as well, so if people watch the podcast and couldn't get along but want to kind of support us, you can support those charities on our donation link down below as well.
Good stuff. Well, I suppose the big question is when we're doing it all again.
Yeah, that's the thing. What did we learn? What would we change? Would we do it again? Were those kind of the three questions going forward? What did we learn? As much as you can be prepared, be extra prepared, buy a new sound system for the company, and we'll rely on our own gear next time instead of borrowing it. What would we change? I don't think we would change much, to be honest, because it worked well. I was happy with the outcome in the end, as much as the stresses beforehand. I think the format worked, splitting it into two halves, having a couple of breaks, having that audience interaction, I thought was good. And would we do it again? 100%. Like I said before, we've had planning meetings of trying to do these 2 or 3 times already. I would like this to have been the 3rd or 4th time we've done it, to be honest, not the first time, because I feel like we've been ready to do something like this for a while. Not that I want to be doing. I think we should be doing stuff like this 3 or 4 times a season. Not that we've got a duty to do it, but we've now got this audience where that almost like a little community actually of people that are invested in our podcast and enjoying what we do. I feel like we should be going out there and kind of fronting up and doing it in person.
Let's aim for it then. Why don't we aim for end of season review as our next one? We've got a good relationship hopefully with Karen and her staff at the Aston Inn.
Yeah, they were very good, by the way. Very
brilliant,
good.
really, really good hosts. Let's get it sorted.
Let's get it penciled in. Organising the second one should be a doddle, really. I'm not sure we'll get 20 different raffle prizes for the next one. I'm not sure we can do that 3 times a season, but the live podcast element of it, we can certainly be doing that 2 or 3 times a season.
Well, I joked in on the night about what next for Claret and Blue. I said we want to hit Vegas. Probably might be a bit of a stretch for now, but I would like to take it on tour somewhere.
What, like around the country?
Well, possibly. I'm trying to get myself an overseas trip out of this, mate. So, I don't know. So there must be a Spanish Lions Club or something on the Costa del Sol or something like that. Or
is this just a way of you getting a holiday?
Yes.
I've just got one very quick shout out that I want to do before we leave. I had a message from Sam on the day of the event, I think, or the day before. Yeah, the day of the event. She said, I've got 2 tickets for tonight, but can't make it. Hopefully you can, redistribute the tickets to somebody else. Great podcast. I'm gutted to be missing out. My dad has bladder cancer, so it's to cheer him up, but he's not been well enough, unfortunately. We'll listen to it together when it's released. Thank you. And I've sorted all that and said, sorry to hear, etc. And I said, I've written it down on the night on my notes to give them a shout out and say, oh, thanks everyone for coming. And I wanted to do a few shouts out. Sam and her dad, who were supposed to be here, but they couldn't, and I forgot. And I messaged her after and said, I was supposed to give you a shout out on the event last night, and I totally forgot. So I said I would do it on the podcast at some point. So this is our little shout out to Sam and her dad, John. I hope John is getting better. She said that he's had some grueling treatment, but prognosis looks decent and he should be on the mend. He said at least it's come at the World Cup time, so he doesn't miss too many Villa matches. Always a positive. So Sam and John, our well wishes too.
Loads of love to you both, and let's hope we can get you both at the next one then in a couple of months' time. That'd be brilliant to see you. So
that'd be great. Yeah, guest of honour, front row seats for Sam and her dad. That'd be lovely.
Yeah, just in case the speakers don't work again, we'll stick it on the front row. Don't worry, you'll be able to hear it.
I think we'll call it a day for this kind of beyond the podcast about our Claret and Blue live event. There will be another one. Let's just say it now. We'll do it at the end of the season, and we'll work backwards from that, and sort dates and times and locations nearer to it. But we will do a Claret and Blue live event once again. Matt, thanks for your time this afternoon, for kind of looking back on the last couple of weeks, and yeah, really appreciate it. It's nice to kind of relive it again and kind of share a little bit more details about the actual event itself and the raffle and the money that we raised. So any information that I've mentioned will be in the description down below as well, any links and things like that. So Matt, thank you very much for your time. Thanks everyone for watching along as always, and we'll see you again in a few days. Thank you for listening to Claret and Blue and Aston Villa podcast. If you enjoyed today's episode, then please do let us know. We love hearing your thoughts and comments. We'll be back soon with another episode, but until then, up the Villa.